Red.
Hi, I'm Becca.
I'm Debbie.
Hi, I'm Joe. Jeff.
My name is Jacob Fitzgerald, and I'll be doing my demonstration speech today. And here are the note cards I'll be using. When many people decide to have a fish as a pet, they may think they're taking the easy way out. There is no pooping on the carpet, no long walks, but little do they know there's more to maintaining a fish tank than just throwing fish in water. I have owned a fish tank now for 4 years with very few bumps in the road. I have received all my information from a buddy of mine that breeds angelfish. The three main points of owning a fish tank is the proper setup of the tank, maintaining your fish tank, and properly feeding your fish. The first steps you will need to know is how to set up your fish tank. On your fish tank, the first thing you will need to decide is what type of fish you will have. Many different types of fish need different size tanks, and some need to be with other fish. Knowing the right size is easy to know for the fish if you go to a store like Fish Freaks. That's all they do is specialize in fish. Their location is off 108th and Q. As far as the type of fish to go into the tank, if you're having a community tank with multiple fish, you want to stay away from aggressive fish. For example, a red-tailed shark is a more aggressive fish, and it'll pick on smaller fish on the tank, and it could lead to them dying. And as far as the tank size, the smaller ones are located at stores like Petco, and the larger ones that are 55 and above, or you will have to go to your specialty stores for those. After you decide on which tank that you want to go with, you will have to pick a filter to go with it. For your smaller tanks, you will have a hang on the back filter like this one. And for your larger tanks, they will be canister filters that you will have to get at specialty stores, or you can order them online as well. As far as the lights for the setup, they're clearly marked on the box. 55 gallon, 40 gallon. There's all sorts of different sizes, LED, non-LED. It doesn't matter if it's LED or not, as long as it fits the tank that you have. And as far as the heaters go, they go by watts, and they're easy to pick out. On this specific one, is got an internal temperature that sets the temperature to 78 degrees, and the other ones you have a little dial that you have to adjust it, and then that's where a thermometer will come into play. And the most important thing about the heaters is that you fully submerge them in the water, because if any part of the heater is outside of the water, it can actually explode. And when you go to pick out your decorations, a lot of it is personal preference of what you want, but you have to have certain types of decorations for certain fish. For example, a pleco fish, they like to hide, and they need like a cave or a ship like this one. And your schooling fish, they need foliage, which is plants. Whether they're fake plants or real plants, it is necessary for them to have it, otherwise they will feel uncomfortable and uneasy. Now, when you go to set up your water, it takes on average 2 to 4 weeks. And that's just a general rule of thumb. I use a prime to condition the water. It will take some of the bad chemicals like ammonia and nitrite out of your water. And you will want to use that as you cycle your tank. And a water test kit is necessary to have at first, because that 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes it can take a little longer and sometimes it's a little sooner. The most important part is this is a color-coded diagram that you need to make sure your ammonia and your nitrite is at 0. Otherwise, if you put fish in before that, they will die. And then your nitrite can be between 5 and 40. And they're all color-coded. These kits are really easy to use. The most important part is you don't rinse them out with tap water because that could give you a false reading. Now it's time to add the fish after your tank is fully cycled. You will want to, when you buy your fish, they come in bags, and you will want to float the bag in your tank for a minimum of an hour to bring their temperature up to your temperature. And then when you get ready to release your fish into your tank, I strongly recommend that you do not put the water you get from the stores in your tank, just in case there is a bacteria or there's fish that were sick in the tank, and you have less likely chance of transferring it over. After the main setup is complete, the next step you should learn is how to clean your fish tank. Cleaning your fish tank comes on a weekly basis. At first, you will want to use the water test kit again to test the waters, and if you just changed it 3 days ago and your ammonia and your nitrate's high, you need to do an emergency change as well. When you remove the water from the tank, you will want a clean bucket and a dirty bucket, so you're not filling your tank back up with the same chemicals that were already in the bucket. And to get the water out of the tank, I just use a siphon. And the most important part about the siphon is that when you're cleaning the tank, you actually get in the lines of the gravel. So you actually get the feces of the fish and the extra food that they did not eat up. And that's what causes some of the bad chemicals to spike as well. The temperature of the water when you put it back in is important. You don't want it to be super hot or super cold because that can throw your fish off, and it can also kill them from a severe shock. Changing the filters is very easy, and you should do that on a monthly basis. And some people, to save money, they will rinse the filter off. But the one thing, if you do that, if you don't want to buy another filter every single month, make sure you don't use tap water because that can cloud your water as well. After you learn to change your fish tank water, you will ensure the quality of health of your fish by feeding them as well properly. The first thing you need to do is make sure you have the correct fish food for your fish. I just use a tropical flake for more your community fish like tetras or angelfish, and then your plecos will need algae wafers. And as far as the correct amount goes of feeding your fish, on the flake, when you drop it in, it's whatever they can eat in a few minutes. Another rule of thumb I got told by one of my friends was if a bunch of fish food is hitting the ground, you're feeding them way too much. You will want to feed your fish once or twice a day in very small amounts. Feeding your fish can cause multiple things. It's just as bad as not feeding your fish at all. It can expand their stomachs, affect their swimming, and it can cause death as well. Adding a fish to your home can seem a bit overwhelming at first, but the joys the kids and the guests get from looking at your tank is worth the effort. After the setup of your tank, you will get used to the steps of maintaining your fish tank, and it actually will become very easy for you. Many people do not realize the amount of work it takes on setting up the fish tank, maintaining it by cleaning the waters, and feeding your fish. After a short time, adding a fish tank to your home is like adding a piece of artwork. Good. Was that pretty good?